Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Dream City podcast supported by Spotlight DC. I'm Junaid Dill.
And I'm Tom Sherwood.
Tom, we got a big episode on Thanksgiving week, but it's good to see you. We didn't think we would do an episode. How you doing this week?
All good, ready for the holidays. Kojo Namdi and I on the weekend, we kicked off the Capitol Hill tree lighting ceremony. It was great. Hundreds of people were there. It was a lot of fun.
The
And
tree
for
is lit.
Thanksgiving, and that is lit. And thankfully, for Thanksgiving, I'm only going about a mile to my son's home for Thanksgiving. No traveling over the woods and through the snow and all that for me.
Okay, very good. Are you going to ask what I'm doing?
Well, I assume you're going to be with your parents.
I'm hosting my parents at mine. We're going to do a little Thanksgiving dinner at my little apartment. And then we're going to do a nice walk. It's really nice because everyone's out of town. A lot of people are out of town for
Good.
Thanksgiving. So it's a nice,
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
yeah, that's exactly happy Thanksgiving to me and whoever is still in DC. Hometown DC. People come back
Yes.
to the city. All right, we got a big episode. We're going to talk about the tale of two mayors.
Tale of two mayors.
We're talking about the Zohran Mamdani visit to the White House. We're also going to talk about DC's own Zohran Mamdani. Councilmember Janeese Lewis George seems like she's going to run. I overheard the whole mayoral campaign plan of Janeese Lewis George at the Tune-In restaurant in Capitol Hill, thanks to a tipster. The whole plan, I got it. I reported in Axios this week. We'll talk more about that and some more information that we have. Meanwhile, downtown wants Muriel Bowser to run for a fourth term. There's a pro-business group nudging Mayor Bowser to run for a fourth term. They have a new draft Muriel Bowser website.
I think they'll object to you calling it downtown. Their businesses around town.
A lot of people, a lot of funders of the group supporting it are from downtown businesses. The Streeteries are ending in DC. We're going to talk about why that is, or at least a lot of the Streeteries are ending. They're going to have a lot of new regulations that are going to make some of these Streeteries have to come down.
There might be a rescue coming. We'll talk about it in a moment.
But yeah, let's go back to the tale of the two mayors first. So what I wanted to talk about, everyone saw what happened. And if you're on YouTube, you can see the New York Post cover that I'm gonna keep showing. But everyone already saw it. Everyone's seen the memes, the highlights, the articles. We're not going to regurgitate that. But I was interested in the discussion around how Mayor-elect Mamdani's visit to the White House compared to how Mayor Muriel Bowser has had to walk this tightrope over the past almost a year now with President Trump. Are there any lessons that DC can take, Mayor Bowser can maybe take from this?
Well, the only thing that's really comparable to it is that they both were in the White House. Mamdani, as New York City, is totally different from the nation's capital. It's more independent. It's not subject to the whims of a congressional Congress, all of those things. So we all expected Mamdani and President Trump to clash. They did not. They had, you mentioned it earlier, a bromance went there. And I think that was tactical on the part of the president. And he really shocked people. Trump shocked people by being so nice. The difference is he knows he can control the city as he did with the emergency in August. He knows the Congress can step on the district. She has to tread a more fine line while Mamdani stood up for his beliefs.
And Mayor Bowser had a record already going into the second Trump term. So Mamdani, he doesn't have a record running New York City yet. He hasn't made any decisions that could make Trump feel a certain way. So really hard to compare when it comes to things the two of them have actually done. One has already run the city. She had a whole mural for Black Lives Matter right outside the White House during the Trump's first term. That set off a lot of animosity. And so she was going into it with already, hostile relationship, right? And he spent the whole campaign saying he was going to take over DC.
More than a year he did that, and he still could. He could still direct the Congress to start moving towards removing the district government completely. So again, it's totally different from New York City,
Yeah.
and I think that's important. And Mamdani is on his honeymoon. He hasn't had any clashes yet with the New York governor or the New York state legislature, which controls a great deal of what happens in New York, in the city itself. And the mayor is trying, she thinks she successfully has kept Trump from attacking home rule by taking it away.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about the differences. One of the tweets over the past few days was from Simone Sanders. She stuck up for the mayor on Twitter. Um, Basically said she was doing what she needed to do as mayor, but the headlines suggested she was a capitulator and a coward. That was one viewpoint, sticking up for the mayor, questioning why more people weren't praising the mayor as they praised Mamdani. But she also got a lot of pushback to that from locals, um, people who feel that Bowser uh, did not go hard enough, basically, and the main difference for a lot of people is they feel Mamdani did not concede on anything, versus Bowser has had to concede on some things, even say some words that seem to welcome the federal surge or part of the federal surge.
Well, governors and mayors from around the country, whether it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, or San Francisco, or the state of Cal, all of them have independence from the president of the United States. And again, as I said earlier, the New York City mayor, on his honeymoon now, has does not have to worry about Congress on a whim passing legislation that changes your voting rights and whatever else you're doing in your city. It simply is a different playing field, and I think the mayor is trying to protect home rule. Uh, Risks being seen as cooperating with Trump, when in fact she'll say again, the surge of 30 days, the president could have renewed it for another 30 days. He did not. And things are changing. Still, ICE is a big issue. But she does not have the independent authority that the governors and mayors around the country have tell Trump, you can't do this here. And she just can't do it. Some people want her to be out in the street, chanting against President Trump. She's saying she's on a different level where she's trying to run the government and keep the government in place, while the people should certainly rise up and complain as much as possible about what Trump is doing to our city.
I think the one lesson you can take away is, though, and this is maybe not just something the mayor of DC might think, but other people, other Democrats could think this way as well, which is Mamdani came in, he was relentlessly focused on the one area of agreement while not hiding the fact that they had a lot of disagreements. But he focused on, we agree on affordability, whether that's
Housing.
the energy prices there and the food and the housing, which obviously Trump, the developer, was happy to hear the words "build more housing." But it did seem like a blueprint to say, look, I'm not hiding the fact that we have a lot we disagree on. I mean, he called him a fascist again, on Meet the Press. He's not backing down, but he's also saying, on the areas we agree on, why don't we work? And I think that kind of candor resonated in the White House at that moment.
And that's the candor that the mayor doesn't have, because the mayor of New York is far more independent than the mayor of the nation's capital, with a limited home rule where the president can stick his thumb or his foot into anything we're doing here, and the complacent, go along Republican Congress would do it too.
Well, speaking of Zohran Mamdani, looks like there's going to be a DC version of him running for mayor. So this is news that I got over the weekend. Councilmember Janeese Lewis George, who is the Democratic Socialist, she was seen, spotted by sources in Capitol, I'm sorry, in Columbia Heights
Right.
and Kennedy Street, her neighborhood, the areas,
Ward 4.
at least Kennedy Street is where she represents up northwest, but also in Columbia Heights with camera crews videotaping what seemed to be a campaign video. And I say that because I'm just putting two and two together. She's anticipated to run for mayor. And I know this because I heard about all of her plans thanks to a tipster who was sitting next to an advisor for Janeese Lewis George and a former council member at the Tune-In restaurant on Capitol Hill. So to set the scene, they were having breakfast last week with Tommy Wells, who's the former council member and an advisor for Janeese Lewis George, the two of them. And they talked about in great detail all the plans they have for Janeese Lewis George's campaign. That included 5,000 volunteers that they were going to get, emulating the door knocking and the phone banking that Mamdani had in New York. They're going to go big on TikTok and social media with digital video. They want to bring a digital video guru from the Mamdani campaign to DC. And in this meeting, Tommy Wells was overheard as saying he would support Janeese Lewis George. He would help fundraise and devise strategy for the mayoral campaign. And this was all, it's amazing. People were making jokes out of it, but it was overheard at the tune in. And all I can say is keep having loud conversations at restaurants. And I hope more people overhear them and tell me about them.
That was an important meeting, and I congratulate you on that story. First of all, I go to the Tune-In
It's
oftentimes.
great. It's a great
It is
place.
it's a very narrow place, but it is not the place to discuss secret politics ideas, your family life, or anything else that might be embarrassing if somebody heard it. It's a very small place,
I will
and
say
if the
it's Tommy
music's not
Wells's favorite haunt, and
well,
that's
it's
where he
one of his
chose to
favorite haunts. He has
scheme
several
about this
favorite haunts,
plan.
but it's just too small to have any kind of secret conversation there. That's one thing. It's remarkable. But I will say something about Tommy Wells. He's a former councilman from Ward 6, but before all that, he was on the school board. He was actually elected to the school board before he went to the council. And when he served on the school board, the student representative on the school board was one Janeese Lewis George.
Oh, no
So,
kidding. Wow.
yeah, so he has known her since the early 2000s. I think Tommy Wells was on the school board from like 2000 to 2006 when he got elected to the council. But during that period of time, a student from the School Without Walls was on the school board. So
Wow.
he's not just coming late to Janeese Lewis George. He's followed her career since then. And you've learned that on the Dream City podcast.
That's something I never would have known.
But
That's
she was
incredible.
out doing those videos. I've also been told that she was doing those videos, and the purpose of the videos are to put together a videotape announcement that she's running for mayor, which is a big change because it used to be that candidates would gather all their people and they would have a big public event, and then they would and the reporters would come and they announce they're going to do something. But now, like in the delegate race, Brooke Pinto, Robert White, they did videos to announce that they're running for that seat. Ward 6 Councilmember Charles Allen this past week, he did his own video. So we're into a whole new era now where rather than gathering people for big events, you just simply put out a video. You control the message and you don't get reporters asking you bad questions.
That's a good point too. Okay. Meanwhile, there's a pro-business group that is funding what's called a draft Muriel Bowser campaign, which some people told me I don't know how you can draft an incumbent to run for office, but at least that's what the campaign is. It's called draftmurielbowser.com, and they're asking residents to sign on in support of the mayor running for another term, basically saying Mayor Bowser fought to keep home rule and they're saying you should have Mayor Bowser's back, and it's funded by Opportunity DC, which is a familiar name to DC politics insiders because they are a group. They both have a nonprofit that lobbies for sort of development and pro business or business friendly, small business friendly policies, and they also have a political committee, like a kind of like a PAC, super PAC.
Yes.
Yeah, and they fund campaigns that have typically been sort of pro-business, um, um, candidates for council, and they're funding this draft Bowser push, which I thought was interesting.
Well, Opportunity DC is, in fact, a pro. It's supported by the business community throughout the city and the major people downtown. Malcolm Fox, who runs Opportunity DC, I think he's the executive director of it. He told me that DC needs a level-headed leader, and that the mayor has the experience and judgment to fight off the federal crisis with Donald Trump. and they want her to run for a fourth term. I thought it was odd that someone who's been a mayor for 3 terms would have someone draft them, and they say that the reason is the mayor has delayed announcing, and she doesn't really need to announce to January, but she hasn't said she's going to run. People think she's not going to run. And so Opportunity DC is taking this opportunity to try to get the public pressure on the mayor to say, look, you may be thinking about not running again, but we think you need to run again. And that's the point of their campaign. We don't know yet how many people have signed the petition.
To me, this is just a sign, though, that she is leaning toward running now. Because if this group is doing this, I think there is more to this story than we might know.
Do you think it's
Behind.
orchestrated?
I'm not. No, I don't think they can. They can't orchestrate, right? Because they're a
It has to
pack.
be an independent expenditure, I believe.
But I think they have to be seeing certain signs that might support the fact that Mayor is going to run, and that we should give some support for her before the fact that she announces.
It's also a counterpoint of publicity for the mayor that's different from the trouble she's had explaining her position with President Trump.
Mm.
So it's a
Um,
positive way of looking at it.
Speaking of all that, drum roll, we got our Bowser needle is back. Is Bowser gonna run for reelection? Every week we've been, Tom, I keep asking you, what percentage do you put Bowser running for reelection? And looking at my chart, I have a chart that says 55% you think she's gonna run, 60%, or it's basically you've been between 55 and 60%.
That's right. I've said 55 and 60 every time.
Okay, where are
Now,
you at now? Because after there's been some new things.
I would say that my number is going to be basically the same, 55, 60. However,
Tom, god
there's
damn, you can't say the same thing. It's gotta be different. It's gotta be
I'm
different.
sorry, the truth hurts sometimes. And this one, I
Oh
will say, but I was about to say this before I was rudely interrupted. I'm still around 55, 60 that she's going to run. But one thing that concerns some people who want her to run is that there aren't any signs that she herself is doing. She's talked a lot about what she has done, and she's continued to be doing all these various public things, but there's been no leak. Just like there was a leak of the Janeese Lewis George strategist at the Tune In, and other people are saying this or that. People are trying to read tea leaves. The mayor and her people have been very quiet, I think, and very good about not giving away what she's going to do. Now, my experience as a political reporter for a long time would say, well, they're so quiet about what they're going to do because they're not going to do anything. She's not going to run. But I think that's too simple. And so I'm sticking with 55, 60 that she's going to run because while she may have looked outside this job for other things she might do, she has a good chance to have a fourth term. Might be a tough campaign with Janeese Lewis George and if Kenyon McDuffie gets in. But she likes the job. She told me she likes the job. She's worked out a deal with her daughter about how to deal with her daughter and spend time with her daughter. The mayor had nothing on her public schedule this past weekend. So it could be that the mayor is gearing up and resting up to run.
That's a very scientific estimate from our chief analyst of the Dream City podcast,
It's-
supported by Spotlight DC.
all right, where are we going now? We're about
Tom,
done
what do you know
almost.
about ranked choice voting?
Ranked choice, it's very fun. I'm not sure when people will be seeing this, but on Monday of this Thanksgiving week, Anita Bonds, at large council member and chair of the committee, is holding a hearing. It's not a public hearing. She's invited guests to talk to the Board of Elections about is it ready for the June primary? And most importantly, will the Board of Elections be able to handle ranked choice voting in the June primary? There's some talk in the background that the Board of Elections is not certain that it can do the big, massive public campaign to teach people about how to do ranked choice voting in time for it to happen in June. It might want to wait until the November elections, but I don't know that
Wait,
until
wait,
we've
wait,
heard
wait, wait.
from
Can I
them.
just for everyone to understand? So, ranked choice voting, we might not have it in time for the June primary.
That is, yes, it's supposed to. Under the council has funded a ranked choice voting for June primary. That's where you'll have a multiple choice opportunity. When you pick a candidate, you pick several candidates, and then you figure out the votes later. The problem is, I've heard that the board may not be ready to do a full ranked choice voting for all the races in June. Now, well, again, we're doing this podcast before they appear before the council and Anita Bonds. There are some people. I asked the mayor about ranked choice voting. What did she think? She said it's up to the board of elections. I have nothing to do with it. I don't think she and other politicians like ranked choice voting. We're just going to see what they're going to do. Very big question. If we're going to have ranked choice voting, what is the Board of Elections going to do to make certain everyone understands when they go into the voting booth or when they get their ballot at home, how to vote in a ranked choice voting election? There are significant differences. We don't have time to go into them tonight.
All
Big
right, I'm
hearing on Monday.
we're about done. We're about to send everyone off for Thanksgiving week. Uh, speaking of food and everything, God, you know what? I'm disappointed, I have to say, in this Streeteries. It's the end of the road for many DC Streeteries. My colleague at Axios, Anna Spiegel, wrote this past week. So DDOT has a bunch of new regulations for Streeteries. Restaurants are going to have to pay $20 per square feet, and they're calling it road rent plus fees and some other rules about Streeteries starting December 1st. A lot of places are saying, forget that. We're just going to get rid of our streetery. That includes, I think, Le Diplomate is
Yes,
getting
one of the
rid
most
of their
popular restaurants on
iconic.
14th Street
Yeah,
downtown.
Le
Yeah.
Diplomate's getting rid of their streetery, quote, chalets. It's been there since the pandemic.
The good news for those who want the streeteries to stay is that Ward 6 Councilmember Charles Allen I've been told, is going to introduce emergency legislation to hold up the getting rid of the streeteries until they can figure out a better way to see if they can keep some of them without all the onerous fees.
Is that new, Tom? December? Because
Yeah,
this
well,
art.
it's in the last couple of days. Yes, it's been posted on Twitter by a couple of folks, and people who've talked to Charles Allen said he's looking at the emergency legislation. He's the chairman of the Transportation and Environment Committee, so he has a big say in this. And if he has some emergency legislation to hold up on the fees, we might see some agreed upon settlement on how this is all going to work out.
Because the
But
new
this is
permanent
happening now.
I'm sorry. Because I'm just trying to understand that the permanent program launches December 1st, where restaurants have to pay a fee. So would his legislation pass in time to push that deadline back?
You're asking me about the council's next next session. I'm not sure when it is, but he could move to do it.
Okay, so
I
it's
think
not
there's
a
a couple more. I don't know if there's a session this week or not. And now that you've raised that point, I don't know. But he could do emergency legislation. They could just hold it up.
well, a lot of
Uh,
people love the streeteries. A lot of people complain um, that they are disjointed. Some streeteries are really nice looking. Others kind of look like a rickety shack along the road, and you're sitting next to diesel exhaust fumes and scooters bumping into it. Like some of them are very nice, others not so much.
There are some very nice streeteries, and there are some more ramshackle ones. But some of the ramshackle ones are the very ones who need the money to keep their businesses open. A lot of restaurants, and I have to be careful about talking about restaurants. My son's in the business, but a lot of restaurants have gone out of business during this post-COVID period, and they're saying the streeteries help them stay open. So again, that's all the issues that I understand Charles Allen, the council member, is going to address.
So there's still some more to come on this. Okay, I see. All right, happy Thanksgiving, Tom. Hope you have a good one, you and your family.
You too.
Say hi to Peyton. Peyton's your son who owns the restaurant, who's in the
Yeah,
restaurant business,
but
as you
we're not
mentioned.
doing it in a restaurant. We're going to be at his home.
The Dream City podcast is supported by Spotlight DC, the Capital City Fund for Investigative Journalism. That's all the time we have this week. We'll see you after Thanksgiving in December.
Happy Thanksgiving.